Hello, guys. Welcome to Homebuyer's Guide.
Thank you again, Brahim. Thanks so much for having me for the past couple of weeks, just talking about the real estate market and some of the tips and what all we can do from leasing all the way up to buying. Last time we were on, we had a mortgage broker who was kind enough to let us know some of the things that we can look for. Now we have the fabulous Miss Dervel Gardener who is here today to let us know about financial planning. And one of the things I just wanted us to end with, at the end of this whole demonstration of what we can do to get in the market is first and keymost, how are we going to get there? And by doing so, we need to plan accordingly. So, Darrell, I know you've been educating and had a few talks and different groups, which I had the pleasure of listening and seeing what you were proposing. What are some of the things you can let our listeners know about when it comes to financial planning and where they can start?
Well, definitely when it comes to financial planning, I really do love the new program that the government has put in place, that
Mm-hmm.
first home savings account. I talk to people who are still not even aware of this
Mm-hmm.
account and how beneficial it can be if they're
Mm-hmm.
looking to get into the housing market. It is actually a forced
Mm-hmm.
saving because you're not putting your
Yes.
money anywhere else. And if you put it
Mm-hmm.
into this account, then you also get a tax break also. So it does act in the same sense as the RRSPs in terms of it lowers your income at tax time, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to put this back if you're
Okay.
worried about that, right? Because with the first home savings account from the RSP, that you do have to put back. So I
Okay.
really like this program, and I think everybody should be taking advantage of it.
Most
And
definitely.
yeah, and it doesn't have to be a big amount. You start small. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things I want to say about saving for that home purchase is to start with what you have, right? Start
Exactly.
small,
Exactly.
make it automatic. And that's one of
Mm-hmm.
the important things that I try to stress when I'm talking to people about saving for these goals is to make it
Mm-hmm.
automatic. Pay yourself
E-
first, right?
Exactly. Now, I mean,
Yeah.
for somebody who is like new to the game, and I always say things like, you don't have to think that I'm too young or I'm too old. I mean, I'm always encouraging my girls. I got teenagers, and I'm like, don't think that you're too young to start saving. What would you say to somebody who is like at that age and thinking, oh my God, it's so far ahead, I don't have to start thinking? Do you have any tips to say where can they start? I mean, if it's a savings account or whatever, like what would you say? Like start going to do what? Or maybe just probably have like maybe a spreadsheet to say start planning out a budgeting for some things to come, especially as big as a home buying process.
hmm I really love that you brought up that word budget
Mm-hmm.
because I find that's one of the things that a lot of people are lacking. They just, you spend here, spend there, and at the end they look and see, oh, I have this much, maybe I'll save it or invest it. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the first books that I read
Mm-hmm.
was The Wealthy Barber, and in there it tells you to pay yourself first, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so this could work with saving for your first home. Even if you start
Mm-hmm.
an account with just a $25 automatic pay, and as you start making more money, you increase that to 50 to 100 to 75, and that will add up so quickly, right? By the time if you start at 18, by the time you're ready at say, 25 or so, if you're really looking to get into the market at that point, you'll have a good chunk of change saved. And to
Mm-hmm.
talk to other people who are in the market to see how they did get into the market themselves as well. Um, and not to look for that giant home as your first home,
Of course,
right?
of course. Start small.
Most pe most people sit back and think, I'm going to buy that big detached home. That's what I'm saving for,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
some of us, it's slightly unrealistic.
Yes.
But just looking for that 1 or 2 bedroom condo just to get yourself into the market, all right?
Exactly.
And then to work your way up from there.
Good, good. And I was also saying to myself, I remember coming a long way and I remember my grandparents trying to save money by putting something in their buttock, putting something in their chest or something under their mattress or saying let's start what we call a box service where we all put together, and at the end of the month we've got money. But things have changed now, and I know every person has to have a bank account. So I'm always encouraging people at the end of the day, go into your bank, speak with your financial advisor, ask them how to get these things started, as small as it can be. Some people who are smart and have had kids right away have started an RESP, which is going to, of course, help their kids when it comes to education. And some have already started a program, whereas in, as I said, first-time home buyer, they're trying to put things aside by saying, hey, maybe I can put this away. Then by the time my children are a certain age, they may have that benefit of having a down payment. Anything that you can say, again, on that line when it comes to, financial planning that you can say, here are some of the things that I know have worked or should be looked into, that you can encourage people to start with?
So it depends on the age and the stage of where you're at. So as we discussed before, people looking to get into the market, to
Yes.
take advantage of that first home savings account, and that TFSA also, because with the first home, there's only so much you can put. You can only put in, like, I believe it's $8,000
A year. Yeah.
each year. But there's also the TFSA that, yes, there are limits as well. But imagine if you're able to put, eight into the first home and then the other 7,500 into the TFSA. Well, you're already doubling your down payment right there. And for
Good.
those parents who have young kids, like, really start early. Start with your $25, $50, because every little bit helps. We know how expensive education can be post-secondary, and
Yes.
I'm kind of getting into that stage. Mine has one more year of high school
Yes.
before I have to go there. And that whole government grant, like, the government is giving you what, $7,200 of free money, right? If you put in what, $2,500 for the year. Like, who doesn't want free money from the government? Because there's not
Exactly.
a lot of places where they do give us that. So, start saving as much as you can, because it will help those kids going forward.
Okay.
Maybe we can't save everything, right, to pay for everything, but at least to give them a start first year or
Exactly.
two, and then they can start working part-time and build themselves up going forward from there.
Good, good. Like, I do have quite a few first-time home buyers that I've started a few programs with, where I've already started, saying things like, just look at your financial outlook right now. You, of all people, should know what your circumstances are. So if you start with yourself at home and sit down and say, this is what I make, this is what my expenses are, and start by saying, what can I cut down on? And what can I start to do to even generate more income? If I have my weekends off, should I get a second job? Should I do things that would help me to gauge my outlook, as to say, I know I want to get this. So if I have these savings, then I can even put that second job. So these are things I'm advising my first time home buyers who don't have it as yet, to say, look at your whole financial outlook, see where you can actually cut corners, and see what you can currently start to do to get to that threshold. Because, I mean, in retrospect, it's not hard. Like, when I've started, like, saving with some of my clients, in about a month's time, it's like, oh my gosh, I never knew by just cutting down and having a separate account that I would have been able to save at least this much so far. So again, have you come across a lot of those scenarios where you have sat with people or said to them, these are things, and to see the bright outlook or the experience of what you have been doing so far, that can say, hey, this is something that I need to get more, to push for other people to start?
Well, definitely, because with the current high mortgage rates, and of course the prices of homes have gone up so much, I do come across a lot of people who are like, I'm never going to be able to buy a home. So the first question is, well, what's your plan? Well, let's sit down, let's look at your budget, let's see what your fixed expenses are, and then
Yes.
let's look at your variables. Where can you, like you said, where can you cut some costs? Do you need all of those subscriptions? You need, the Spotify, the Disney Plus, the Netflix.
Exactly.
Can you get a better phone plan, right? Where you can save maybe $20, $25 off of that plan, and you can put that into savings.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. That's
a
well put.
lot of people, yeah, a lot of people have to be picking up some, extra shifts at work or
Hmm.
doing what everybody's calling now a side business. So
Yes.
any opportunity to make some extra cash and then focusing that cash into that savings plan because you're used to living off your salary anyways.
Yes.
So
And the thing
anything
about it
extra.
is, it's good. And the thing about it is like reminding them that that money that you're saving is not to spend.
Mhm.
It's to go directly into savings. So if you have to say to employer, if there's an opportunity where, as in, you can make that extra go into a separate account where you're not touching it, it'll be fantastic because then it's discipline. Discipline is another thing that I think is good when it comes to financial planning.
Yeah, and I find that it's lacking. The education piece is lacking because I'm also a teacher at heart,
Mm-hmm.
by career as well also. So I do love just teaching people and showing them the possibilities. So
Mm-hmm.
as you said, if the employer is able to pull some money into a separate
Mm-hmm.
account for you, then that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But if that doesn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm encouraging folks to do is to set their savings for automatic payments in a
Yes. Yes.
separate account,
Account.
even a
Yes.
separate bank if you have to,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not seeing that money and you're not eyeing it every day and looking, oh, I could use it for this, right? It's
Yes.
it's out of sight, out of mind. And when you do go to look at that account, it's like, whoa, look at what's here.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like you said, you'd
Yes.
be surprised at what your little bit can do and what it adds up to.
Exactly. Especially when you have two individuals doing it. Like, I mean, if you're focused on your couple and you're putting that away, especially with that first home time buying program, it's amazing because I've seen individuals are so like, oh my God, I never realized just doing something like this, we can accumulate so quickly. But then again, as I said, it's discipline. Like for myself, sometimes every year I sit down and look at my all my expenses and say, where can I save? So you're right. I'll call Bell. I'll call my monitoring company and I'll say, where can I save? Or even with my car insurance, I'm like, I'm getting older. Where can I save? So little things. I mean, every little dollar counts, and that money is what you need to start focus on to try and make sure that we get to that end goal. So I really, really think that these are different steps that we need to incorporate. And as I said, not only having a financial education like yourself, but just go into your first point of contact. If that's your bank,
Hmm.
make an appointment, speak with them because it's free. It's free. You
Hmm.
don't have to pay these guys. You can walk in, book an appointment, and say, where can I start and how can I do this? Because it's education, and some people are just terrified of getting to that next step or afraid of, oh, I don't want to seem silly or I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, if you don't start by asking a question, how are you going to know?
Well, exactly. And two things. I like the fact that you brought up if you're with a partner, for them both to have accounts that they're saving towards this goal. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're in a relationship and you're going into home buying, you need to be on the same page.
Yes,
I've come across so many situations where one's a saver, one's a spender, or, money's being hidden from the other person. If these are your goals, they need to be aligned. They need to be
exactly.
aligned so that you can get there quicker and get there together, right? So I'm not
Exactly.
struggling to save for that down payment while, the other person is busy buying, whatever fun things they want to buy. It's got to be on the
Yes.
same page. Hmm.
Exactly, right across the
Yeah,
board. Well, thank you. So,
exactly.
Brahim, did you have any questions at all pertaining to
Yes.
what was being discussed by Dervel that you may have for her?
Yeah, I have two questions. The first question I have is that you talk about start small, save a little there and there. But the goal to buy a house in this time is very hard for some of us. I'm just speaking as a young man in my 30s who's just looking at, okay, the housing prices are going to go up, they're not going to go down. And I'm asking myself, then when am I going to accumulate sufficient savings to be able to purchase a home? Do I have to wait? Do I have to save till 5 years? How many years? So at the end of the day, let's say if I save till 5 years, is that money going to be sufficient to be able to match up to the housing price? So maybe I need a massive wealth for me to be able to go into buying a home.
Well, it all depends on the home you're looking to buy, right?
Mm,
So you kind of have to look at the market and say, okay, I might be looking at a home that's maybe, 600, $700,000. We're probably more talking like a townhouse or condos. And
Mhm.
then kind of back engineer it. How much do I have to save for my down payment, right? And then move forward from there. Look at, do I have to save 5%? Do I have to save 20% for that home?
Sense. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's you have to plan. You have to
Yes.
plan and
Yes.
you have to buy within your means.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
yes, you also have to be exercise some patience. So maybe it will take you 5 years. But at the end of the day, when you have achieved that goal, even though it's taken you 5 years, how awesome is that going to feel that you set the goal, you worked towards it, and you did achieve it?
Exactly. Exactly. And as I
okay,
said,
then
most of these questions, Brahim, again, you won't know unless you start with sitting with someone. You need to know what your full financial outlook looks like or what you currently have. And in order to do so, they need to run numbers and to give you some sort of like, say, a plan for you to work on, is to say, okay, you're making this amount, your partner is working this amount, this is where we need to be at. And for you to do so, this is what we need you to do. So, I mean, when they have the full outlook of all these things, they will be able to pinpoint them and to show you what you need to work on and to show you what your goal is. And as Dervel says, if it's a townhome or whatever the case is, you say, well, we want to try and do something like that. I mean, they might realistically say to you, you know what, at this present time, if you want to do this in 5 years, you may have to probably look at maybe a condo, a 1 bedroom, build from there, use the equity, move to the next one in order to get to those steps. So you won't really necessarily know unless you have that full financial outlook with someone's expertise to help gear you there.
Hmm. And there are several online like mortgage calculators that folks can access. I believe most banks also have one online or just in
Mm-hmm.
general to kind of
Mm-hmm.
just plug in your numbers, see what you have, see what your salary is, see what you would qualify for. And by all means, make sure you buy way below or as
Mm-hmm.
far below as you can for what you qualify for. Don't buy at the top. Try to buy as low as possible in terms of what you qualify for, so you're not putting extra stress on your finances.
Yes. Yes.
okay, the last question I have is, let's say, for example, you have other expenses that are competing with the ability to save. For example, let's say I have to pay my OSAB because my OSAB is 50 G's and it's going to take me about, I don't even know how many years I'm going to pay it off. But my goal is I also want to purchase a home. So how can I prioritize or balance expenses that are competing with my ability saving for a home?
Well, you first want to pay off as many things as you can that has the highest interest, because you're just throwing away money
Mhm.
when you're, holding on to things that, 20, 25%. I've come across with a few people who are paying 46% on some loans, right? I nearly cried on that one. 46%, that's almost double you're paying
Double. Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
You want to
Yep.
pay those off as quickly as possible. And at the end of the day, a lot of people have to find ways to make extra money. At the end of the
Exactly.
day, a lot of salaries, just your regular 9 to 5, unfortunately, are not going to cut it. So people have to find extra way to make some extra money, whether it's working some extra shift, if you have the ability in something, doing some tutoring, making stuff to sell if you're a crafty person. But at the end of the day, I find a lot of people have to find ways to make extra money. If you can ask for a raise at work, that also helps. But if that's not possible, again, it's all about bringing in that extra income until you get where you want to be, or at the very least have paid off those loans, and now whatever money you are making is your money.
And I mean, consolidation is also good. Again, when I go right back to square one, if you do have somebody that sits with you and show you all your finances, they may probably come up with a conclusion as in, why not consolidate all that debt? So at least you can have maybe just one interest you're paying. So it's faster for you, and you can do maybe, accumulate that payment. Like you can probably pay it off quicker, because the more payments that you're making is the faster that debt is coming down and the less interest you're paying, in a sense. So maybe that's just something to look into as well. And then it might even make you qualify faster, because once they see that you just have this one, say, consolidated debt, they see that you're making a lot of payments on it, it might be able for you to see maybe, that finishing line faster than before.
Mm-hmm. And then again, also, like you said, going back to the budgeting, one of the things that I teach people is a debt roll up. So
Mm-hmm.
just kind of looking at, it depends on which way you want to go. You could attack the highest interest rate first, or you can attack the one that has the smallest balance, because it gives you that little bit of sense of accomplishment once you've
Mm-hmm.
paid it off.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you've paid off that small amount, then you roll that payment into your next one. And I'm actually finding people are, without doing the consolidation piece, I find people are paying things off a little bit quicker if they have that plan and stick to that plan of rolling up the payment, right? If you're paying, 100 here, 100 here, you're finished with this one. Well, now you're paying 200 on the next one, because you've rolled that extra money up into the next payment, and they're able to get rid of things a little bit quicker.
Exactly. And those extra bonuses, like if you get bonuses from work, rather than say, hey, it's at the end of the year and it's Christmas time, I'm going to buy everybody those expected gifts, you can just primarily just invite everybody over for a nice dinner and then say to them, this is my Christmas gift because we're saving for a house. And at the end of the day, that bonus can go directly into your debt, because, at the end of the day, the taxman or whoever it is not going to come looking for those friends or family. They're going to come looking for you. So you have to put your priorities really at the foremost, as this is what we need to do. Stick to it. It may be a 3-year goal, but that 3 years is going to roll around quick. And as soon as you realize you got that money, you'll be saying, we did it. And we can actually move forward with what we want to get done.
And you have to start. You got to start somewhere. A lot of people are paralyzed, uh, paralysis by analysis, right? People sit around thinking, how can I, how can I, how can I? Just start. Just start,
Exactly.
learn from there, grow from there, and then increase as you go along. But you got to start, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And no matter how small it is, it's a start. It's a start.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's the questions that I've had on my end. And Brahim, if you have any more questions for this beautiful lady that actually joined us today.
No, I've learned a
No.
lot. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you
Okay.
so much for the opportunity to speak, and yeah, it was great. I'm looking forward to working with more, especially young people.
Yes.
Those
Yes.
are the people that I enjoy working with and watch them light up when they can accomplish those financial goals.
Now, can you tell us how our audience can get a hold of you, or what's the best means of contacting you, just to get a head start and how to plan and just have a conversation going?
Of course, the first and easiest way is by my phone number, which is 416-697-3929. And also by email. My professional email is a little long and a little tricky, so I tend to start with my regular one and then switch over to that one from there. So it's just my name, Dervel, Dervel, Gardener, Dener, at gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We really want to get this process started. So by all means, whatever anyone who's reaching out to you, know they're going to be in good hands. And I think it's just trying to get, as I say, young people started, and even some of those individuals who are at certain age that just feel stuck. Just having that person on the other line and just having that goal set will be something that I think will be very encouraging to them. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Much appreciated.